Hello all, Yuli here. Another Wednesday wisdom share with the White Raven. Once again, I was led down to the sunrise as I often am, and I asked Spirit, what will I share about today, Spirit? What will be the wisdom share? And as I arrived, I saw a little bit of a surprise. There had formed overnight several little baby tidal pools, and so it was like you took a big tidal pool and created little islands within the big giant tidal pool, and these islands had then created different fjords that came off of them and had etched into the earth canyons, albeit not canyon size, but kind of like the model of a canyon within the earth. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was spectacular. I mean, it was as if the hand of the Creator had come down and sculpted the land overnight and created these little glimmering tidal pools. And within the tidal pools, they shimmered, and because the land underneath had gotten kind of textural, and so that created ripples, and anytime the wind would blow, the water would of course ripple even more in response to the air. And as the sun rose, I could then see those ripples forming what looked like energy ripples within the water. And I also noticed a little stream that had then formed from these tidal pools back out into the ocean. And here's what Spirit said. Well, Spirit said to listen to the water and to glean the message from the water. And what the water had to share was that water always flows. It never resists. It always finds a way. It's very intuitive, and it always knows a way. It always knows how to get back to the sea. And so I watched this water as the waves would lap up against the shore. It would sort of push the water from these little tidal pools over to this little stream that looked like a baby river. And it would S-curve its way through all the tidal pools. And then eventually the lapping wave would come up and sort of like take it and swoop it right back out. And so that was very much a metaphor for life. To just be fluid, to not be resisting to surrender, to simply trust that your path, which could be the water, knows its way. Your soul knows its way. And so that was pretty powerful for me this morning. Noticing, of course, the fluidity of water and how graceful and gentle water can be, and yet also how powerful and how forceful it can be at times. But the majority of the time, it doesn't even need to be forceful. That just over time, water is very persistent, and water is very patient, and water is very trusting, because it knows. It just knows intuitively that it's on the right path, it's going in the right direction, and it will always get to where it's supposed to be, which typically is the sea, the ocean. If you're on a coast, many times you may see in a movie that somebody wandering in the woods will always make their way to a water source, which usually is a stream or a river of some sort, and they follow that river down in the direction that the river is flowing, because the river always flows to the sea if you're on a coast. I mean, I guess you could be inland also, and eventually it will end up in the sea. But yeah, I mean, it may take a really long time, but again, water is patient. And this was the lesson today, was to be patient, be allowing, don't resist, to surrender, and allow the current to take you down your path. Now, this is not to say that you should never steer, perhaps, but also know that water, besides knowing its way, it also knows, like, there's a log in the water or there's a rock in the water in its way. It either will go over it or it'll go around it in some form or fashion. Or maybe even sometimes it might go under it, depending upon the current and the way that the land is having the water move. So you can really learn a lot by sitting with water. Even a big giant water body like this, where it seems to be very still, you can still watch that, it's not perfectly still. It's in direct relationship with the earth beneath it, in direct relationship with the air that moves across its surface. Water is also very much directed or directly related or linked to our emotional body. And at times it's time for that emotional body to be purged or cleansed, and it's very good to cry it out and release it out, usually then in the form of water, in the form of tears. That is the majority of the way that, the main way, that water wants to release itself through emotions is through tears. And tears are very healthy. They help you to clean out also your tear ducts, purify your eyes and cleanse your eyes. Our eyes require moisture. But you can also learn a lot with the current of water, of sitting and simply observing the way that water moves, the way that water interacts with all the things around it, the trees, the branches, the creatures that inhabit the waters. I used to sit on a big boulder for hours when I lived in Atlanta. There was a Chattahoochee River, and I would sit on a boulder that was covered with trees. And I would sit there and watch this current, because there were several boulders in the center here of it, and I would watch how the water would move at varied speeds. One body of water, one section of this body of water, moving at a variety of different speeds to get where it's going. Now, all of the water is going exactly to the same place, but Water does have a variety of methods and a variety of routes of how to get there, but it always knows the best way. Just like our souls, again, they always know the best way, and so our soul, of course, being of the element of ether, but the wisdom of water in direct relationship with our soul can teach us to trust, teach us patience, teach us surrender, teach us that we will always get to where we're going. It's just such a beautiful relationship that we have with water, that we are made up of majority of water, and the water around us, and the cleansingness of water to our skin, hydrating us, the gratitude that we should really have for this element. You know, we take the salt baths when we feel as though we need to cleanse our aura. Again, it's the healing qualities of water that cleanses that. I mean, from our energetic field to the our inner selves, our blood. The first way to detox is to flush your system with water. Now, we also know through scientific study that water holds memory. Water, like the ocean, has been holding the memory of all of creation since the time of creation. Think about that. That's pretty spectacular. But because it holds water, we can utilize that. If everything is frequency, water understands frequency. You can even whisper, "I love you," to the water and bless the water. And it will hold that frequency. And if it's the ocean, or it's, even a stream or a river that will eventually end up in the ocean, it's taking that frequency of love and bringing it into the ocean, and then it is what's called concussed, where it is shaken up and stirred up and aggravated, like in homeopathy, where it then multiplies. And so then that frequency of love multiplies and can eventually blanket the earth with the love frequency. Imagine if all of us just went out to the ocean and whispered that we love you, I love you, to the ocean. Sending love out into the earth. You can do that in a puddle. You can do that in the water that you drink. Do that in a puddle, knowing that the water is going to be evaporated into the earth. And so that love frequency is then evaporated into the earth. Water is also raindrops. I remember when it was my last birthday that I had, I was guided to go out into the mountains on my own and to bring my sound equipment, the sound frequencies, to heal the earth, and that it needed to be by a body of water, a running stream, mountain stream. And so I found the place, and it happened to end up being, of course, at the perfect time during a tropical storm. How much water is in a tropical storm? I mean, I had this idea that I was going to go out into the, and sit by this body of water, and I was going to play my bowls, crystal bowls, and drum my drum, and I was going to sing, and that's how I was going to deliver these frequencies to the earth. But the universe had a very different idea, one of a grander scale, of course. And that being that I was going to be in a tropical storm with lots of water falling from the sky. And so what I did was I sat in the door of my Airbnb and I played the sound frequencies out to the rain. into the puddles, so that all of that rain would then seep into even the dry earth parts. And then when the rain eventually subsided, the storm had passed, I went down to the stream, which had turned into a very flowing river, a gushing river. And I sat on a little perch and played my drum with the ancestors and delivered the frequencies there, which then, of course, they were carried down swiftly and with force and concussed. Exactly where they needed to go. It was so divinely timed, so perfect. And so, yeah, I didn't allow the storm to sway me from going on my journey, because again, water doesn't resist. You just stay in the present moment, and through your trust and through your faith, you know that Spirit always has your back, the universe always has your back, and you're kind of creating your own reality. And so everything is always in your favor. And if you look at it that way, everything will always be in your favor. Trust, surrender, have faith. Your soul knows the way, water knows the way. Be fluid, be gentle, be bending, curving around obstacles, going over obstacles in the easiest and the gracefulest, is that a word? The most graceful way possible. Which you don't even have to think about, because it's so intuitive. It just happens. It just knows. So be like water. I mean, there's so many wonderful aspects to water that I could just talk about all day long. I mean, in homeopathy, they use water. Water is the bonding agent to create the medicinals. So water is essentially always the medicine. Liquid forms of medicine do work better and faster than pill forms. So drinking teas typically is better, because it immediately goes into your bloodstream. It's immediately put into your little rivers running through you. The Essenes pray also to, they have a different angel for each day of the week. One of the days is the angel of water, where you pray to the angel of water and you send gratitude to the angel of water, that the water that runs through my veins is the same water that runs through the earth, and vice versa. Pertaining also to the law of one, where we all are one. You and I are one, the earth and all of nature, and us as humanity are one. It's important to keep our water clean. It's important to send reverence to our water. Water is sacred. We baptize with water, bathe in water. There are holy waters around the earth. The Ganges River is a very holy, sacred river, purifying, cleansing, healing all parts of us, from deep within, radiating out into our energetic field. carrying the light codes, carrying the memories of creation. And with that, I love you all so very much. I'm wishing you a good day, envisioning you having your best day ever up to this point. If you enjoy this content, please do give me a thumbs up, letting me know that I'm on the right track. Hit that subscribe button, the little bell, if you want to hear more. All the wisdom shares will not always be speaking. Some of them will be sound, some of them will be art process. You never know how I'm going to be guided. We stay present in every now moment, allowing the river to guide us to the sea. With that, be blessed. I am so grateful to you all. I send you so much love.